Hello everybody and welcome to this new video where we're checking out the ultimate OG collector's inventory. So what the richest people back then in the real OG days used to own and used to showcase and used to flex with. A lot of it is very different to what rich people own today, but it is still super interesting to have that little nostalgia kick to look back at what people used to own. And I'll just start off with the glove and knife combo. Back then, people weren't really aware about all the patterns, for example, for crimson kimonos and all these different types of rare gloves. So really, even these, nowadays I would consider them pretty ugly, driver gloves were considered really cool gloves. And these I am pairing with the Stetric M9 Bayonet Crimson Web Factory New. They are, and they always have been, super duper rare. And the collectors love to own them and paid upwards of $10,000 to $20,000 just for these knives. And they were really considered like the highest endgame stuff ever. Nowadays, with the Chinese people taking over a lot of the market, they do not really like Stetric knives. So Stetric knives have tanked a lot. But these really were the OG knives. Like you used to put them in the showcase. Like, look at me, I own a Stetric Factory New Crimson Web, be it a Karambit or an M9 or whatever. But nowadays, it's really gotten to the Dopplers. Now, the Doppler Rubies, Doppler Sapphires, and Black Pearls are considered the top tier knives, or the case hardens, of course. But back then, it really was the Stetric Factory New Crimson Webs. Contenders are also the night knives in Stetric Factory New, but these really were the best. When it comes to OG orbs, there is really no second to the Orb Dragon Lore. Ever since it came out, it has become legendary, and people used to rock this, and it wasn't that expensive back then. Nowadays, it really has gotten out of hand completely, but back then it was considered expensive because people didn't really pay that much for skins back then, but it was already legendary. People used to go crazy when somebody put this out in a server or in a matchmaking game. So the Dragon Lore has had that legendary status for a really long time. I do think a really good contender for the Dragon Lore was the Medusa back then, because the Medusa and the Dragon Lore really were considered like the top orbs in the entire game. I do think that the Medusa is worse than the Dragon Lore. You can only see the head of the Medusa when you inspect, but it's still a super nice skin. It doesn't have anything on the scope or anything, but it's a little glossy thing. And these two were really considered like the top orbs ever. So that's what you used to flex. There used to be like two sides, the Orb Medusa enjoyers and the Orb Dragon Lore enjoyers. The M4A1S is also from the Cobblestone collection. It is the M4A1S Knight. That was really considered the highest of the highs. You could have owned a Hot Rod, but that was like 150 something bucks back then, and I think like the Knight was something like 300, if I remember correctly. But nowadays, of course, we are looking at thousands just for the Knight, like 3,000 just for that Knight in 2025. So that really has taken over completely nowadays in price. But back then, that is like the flex thing that you used to rock. Golden, part of the Cobblestone collection, super sexy. I still think it's super sexy, so clean and shiny to this day. I still think it's awesome, and that really was like the flex M4 that you used to rock. For the M4A4, I have two options for you. The Howl, of course, even before it got trade banned and after it got trade banned especially, the price has risen a lot, and it was considered kind of a flex thing to own a Howl. It's still to this day, in my opinion, the best skin of the entire game, but back then it was used to flex a lot. But there's a second option I got for you. It is the Factory New Modern Hunter. These were super expensive back then because they were just so super rare, and they still are, because they are a collection skin from the Militia collection, which is just super hard to get in Factory New. So these were also kind of really a flex thing. All of the Modern Hunter skins in Factory New. And you probably didn't even know that this skin existed, you know? You just never see it in game. I haven't seen it in game a single time, I think. I of course also have a cool orc for you, which would be the Orc Akihabara Accept. That was really considered the end game orc back then. Also has gotten super rare to own nowadays. Never see it, but that really was considered like the coolest, bestest orc ever. And it's still pretty cool, not gonna lie. But that was like the flex orc. For the P2000, I have the Ocean Foam. That was from the same case as the AK Fire Serpent, and it was considered pretty cool. There's a lot of Titan Holo crafts on that, so that paired with a Titan Holo, that was just insane. The Ocean Foam, but it's just way too expensive nowadays to like explain the price that it has. The USPS is a skin that I would consider still to be one of the best USPS skins in the game. It is the Road Rash. It looks like it is slid along the road, but that is actually in factory new. That's what it looks like. It looks like in factory new. There's this special kind of wear on it by default. It has this cool white look with this green bullet going through. That was really considered one of the high-end USPSs, especially if you had some gold stickers on it from the souvenir Road Rash. But what I would consider even higher tier is the removed USPS Orion. I think it was removed together with the M4A4 Howl, and this one was considered really high tier. People were trying to search for like a perfect slide, so like the top of the gun with the orange right here. That was we were trying to get like the perfect one that has like no scratches at all. As you can see, there's a lot of scratches right here, and people were just trying to craft super low floats, and we're just searching through hundreds of those to find like the perfect one with the least wear on the top of the gun. And so that was considered pretty high tier. And if you look at the gun, you can see that if I just inspect it, you can see that this thing isn't straight. A lot of people have noticed that in recent times, so it has ruined the skin for a lot of people, but this goes down instead of just going straight. So I hope I've ruined the skin for you too. For the Desert Eagle, I would pick up the Desert Eagle Blaze, of course, the happy clip back then that really sophisticated its status in the Counter-Strike scene, in a super rare collection skin that just looks simple but awesome, and it's just OG, and has always been OG. An awesome skin that I still love to this day, and it is just the perfect flex skin. It was back then to own this. It's also a collection skin, so that's why it's kind of rare. And of course, for the AK, the very last skin, which should be no surprise to anybody, is the AK Fire Serpent. That was considered pretty much one of the highest end skins in the game. People were starting to get aware about AK case hardens, but they were still such a niche thing back then that people didn't really know that much about case hardened blue gems, etc. But this was just like the stable best AK skin ever. Like if you owned this, you were just considered super rich, even though it wasn't even that expensive back then. Like I think $100 or something. Price has been risen steadily ever since. But yeah, like there's a lot of AK Fire Serpent haters. I don't hate the skin, you know. Like I just don't look at the ugly face of the serpent, and if you just consider it as it is, I think it's super cool and an OG skin. And nonetheless, it's just super OG, super nice. And that is what I consider like the highest flex endgame AK back then in the OG days. And that already concludes my video. If you want to see more videos like that, or if you want an OG inventory that is not that expensive for like the average person, let me know if you have any other ideas, other loadouts that you want to see, and have a good one, as always.